The water burns my lungs as I sink deeper into Crescent Lake, my wedding dress becoming my burial shroud. Above me I can see Marcus and Vivian's silhouettes growing smaller, their hands still intertwined from pushing me over the dock's edge. 23 years of marriage, and this is how it ends, with my husband and his first love watching me die, finally free to be together without the inconvenience of his wife. The pills Marcus slipped into my wine are making everything hazy, but I can still hear it, their laughter echoing across the water as I drown. My name is Clara Hamilton, and this should have been my ending. Should have been. But death, it seems, had other plans for me. I'm gasping awake in my childhood bedroom, 17 years old again, staring at the acceptance letter to Riverside University, the same university where I first met Marcus Hamilton. My hands are shaking, not from fear, but from the intoxicating rush of possibility. They think they killed me. They think they won. How beautifully, tragically wrong they are. You see, I remember everything. Every single detail of the life I lived and lost. I remember being that naive 17-year-old girl who thought love was enough, who believed in fairy tales and happy endings. I remember meeting Marcus Hamilton during orientation week, tall, charming, with those green eyes that seemed to see right through to my soul. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was completely lost trying to find the financial aid office. I was clutching my campus map like a lifeline when someone tapped my shoulder. "Excuse me, are you looking for something?" His voice was smooth, confident, with just a hint of amusement. I turned around and nearly dropped my books. He was gorgeous, the kind of handsome that belonged in movies, not standing in front of scholarship students like me. "I'm trying to find the financial aid office," I admitted, feeling my cheeks burn with embarrassment. "I think I've walked past it 3 times already." He laughed, and the sound made my stomach flutter. "You're not even close. Come on, I'll walk you there. I'm Marcus, by the way, Marcus Hamilton." "Clara," I managed, trying not to trip over my own feet as he fell into step beside me. "Clara Morrison. And thank you. You really don't have to—" "Trust me, it's my pleasure. Besides, you look like you could use a friend on campus. Are you a freshman?" As we walked, he asked about my major, my hometown, my interests. He seemed genuinely fascinated by everything I said, like I was the most interesting person he'd ever met. When we reached the financial aid office, he didn't just leave. "Listen, Clara," he said, that charming smile never leaving his face. "There's a welcome mixer tonight in the student centre. You should come. I could introduce you to some people, help you get settled in." I should have said no. I should have recognised the calculated charm, the way he was already positioning himself as my saviour. But I was 18 years old and desperately lonely, and Marcus Hamilton was offering me exactly what I thought I wanted. "I'd like that," I said, and sealed my fate with those 4 simple words. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't have possibly known, was that Vivian Chen was watching from across the quad. Sweet, delicate Vivian, with her perfectly arranged black hair and innocent smile. She was Marcus's high school girlfriend, his first love, the one who got away when her family moved to another state during their senior year. She had transferred to Riverside University specifically to win him back, but Marcus had already set his sights on me, the scholarship girl from the wrong side of town, who was impressed by his family's wealth and status. The mixer that night was like something out of a movie. Marcus introduced me to everyone as his new friend Clara, keeping his hand on the small of my back in a way that made it clear I was under his protection. I felt like Cinderella at the ball, finally getting a taste of the life I'd only dreamed about. "So, Clara," said Jessica, one of Marcus's friends, "what's your major?" "English literature," I replied, trying not to feel intimidated by her designer clothes and perfect makeup. "Oh, how artistic," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Are you planning to teach?" Before I could answer, Marcus jumped in. "Clara's brilliant. She's going to be a writer. I can already tell she's going to be famous someday." The way he defended me, The pride in his voice, it made me feel 10 feet tall. This beautiful, sophisticated man believed in me when I barely believed in myself. That's when I first saw her. Vivian appeared at Marcus's elbow, like she'd materialised out of thin air, wearing a simple black dress that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. "Marcus!" she exclaimed, her voice musical and bright. "I've been looking everywhere for you." I watched his face transform the moment he saw her. It was like watching someone come alive, like everything that had happened before she arrived was just him going through the motions. "Vivian," he breathed, and the way he said her name, like a prayer, like a promise, should have told me everything I needed to know. "I can't believe you're here. When did you transfer?" "Just this week," she said, reaching out to touch his arm. "I wanted to surprise you." "Are you surprised?" "Completely." He pulled her into a hug that lasted just a little too long, and I felt something cold settle in my stomach. When they finally separated, he seemed to remember I existed. "Oh, Vivian, this is Clara. Clara, this is Vivian. We went to high school together." Vivian turned to me with a smile that was perfectly warm and perfectly fake. "Clara, Marcus was just telling me about you. He said you're studying literature? How wonderful. I'm pre-med myself, but I've always admired people who are brave enough to pursue the arts." The words were kind, but there was something underneath them that made my skin crawl. Like she was cataloguing my weaknesses, filing away information to use later. "It's nice to meet you," I said, trying to match her friendly tone. "You too. I hope we can be friends. Any friend of Marcus's is a friend of mine." She squeezed my hand when she said it, and her fingers were ice cold. The rest of the evening, I watched Vivian work her magic. She was everything I wasn't. Poised, sophisticated, effortlessly beautiful. She had history with Marcus, shared memories, and inside jokes that made them laugh in that exclusive way that shut everyone else out. I felt like I was watching my own replacement happen in real time. When Marcus walked me back to my dorm that night, I tried to act normal, but I couldn't stop thinking about the way he'd looked at her. "Vivian seems nice," I said, fishing for information. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Yeah, she is. We dated in high school, actually. First love and all of that." He said it casually, like it didn't matter, but I could hear something else in his voice. Longing, maybe, or regret. "What happened?" "Her family moved when we were seniors. Long distance didn't work out." He stopped walking and turned to face me. "But that's ancient history. I'm much more interested in getting to know you, Clara Morrison." He kissed me then, soft and sweet under the lamplight, and I let myself believe that I was special, that I was chosen. I had no idea that I was simply convenient, a placeholder until Vivian could orchestrate her return to his life. Over the next few months, Marcus pursued me with an intensity that made my head spin. He'd show up at my dorm with coffee and pastries from the expensive cafe near campus. He'd wait for me after my classes, insisting on carrying my books like we were living in some 1950s romantic comedy. He took me to restaurants I could never afford, bought me clothes that made me feel like I belonged in his world. "You don't have to do all this," I told him one evening, as he presented me with a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly food budget. "I'm not with you for your money." "I know that," he said, wrapping his arms around me. "That's exactly why I want to spoil you. You're not like other girls, Clara. You're genuine. You're real." Looking back now, I can see how calculated it all was. He was buying my gratitude, my dependence, making sure I felt so indebted to him that I'd never question his motives or his loyalty. But at 18, I thought it was romantic. I thought it meant he loved me, and his mother, Eleanor Hamilton, was a different story entirely. The first time Marcus brought me home for dinner, she looked me up and down like I was something unpleasant she'd found on the bottom of her shoe. "So, Clara," she said over the first course, her voice dripping with false politeness, "tell us about your family. What do your parents do?" "My mum's a nurse," I said, trying not to fidget under her scrutiny. and my dad works for the city maintenance department. How practical, Eleanor replied, the same tone Jessica had used when she called my major artistic. And you're here on scholarship, I assume? Yes, ma'am. Academic scholarship. Well, that's wonderful. Education is so important, especially for girls from your background. The pause before background was loaded with everything she didn't say. Wrong side of town, working class, not good enough for her son. Marcus jumped in then, just like he had at the mixer. Clara's incredibly smart, Mum. She's got a 4.0 GPA, and she's already been published in the university literary magazine. How impressive, Eleanor said, but her smile never reached her eyes. After dinner, I overheard her talking to Marcus in the kitchen while I pretended to use the bathroom. She's a lovely girl, Marcus, she was saying, but you need to think about your future, about the kind of woman who can be an asset to your career, not a liability. Clara's not a liability, Marcus replied, but there was uncertainty in his voice that made my blood run cold. Darling, she's a scholarship student from a working-class family. When you go into politics, people will judge you by your associations, by your wife. Are you really prepared to explain why you chose someone so ordinary? I left before I could hear his response, but the seed of doubt was planted. Was I really not good enough for Marcus Hamilton? Was I holding him back? Should I be grateful for whatever scraps of affection he threw my way because someone like me could never expect to hold the attention of someone like him? That's when Vivian really started to insert herself into our lives. It began innocently enough, running into us at the coffee shop, joining our study group, showing up at parties where she knew we'd be. She was always perfectly friendly, always supportive of our relationship, always ready with a sympathetic ear when I needed to vent about the pressures of dating someone from Marcus's world. You're so lucky, she told me one night when we were having drinks in her dorm room. Marcus was at a family obligation I hadn't been invited to, and I was feeling sorry for myself. Marcus is such a catch. All the girls on campus are jealous of you. Sometimes I don't feel very lucky, I admitted, the wine making me more honest than I should have been. I feel like I'm constantly trying to prove I'm good enough for him. Vivian made sympathetic noises, refilling my glass. Oh, honey, I'm sure that's not true. Marcus wouldn't be with you if he didn't think you were amazing. But what if his mother is right? What if I really am holding him back? What did his mother say? Vivian asked, leaning forward with the perfect expression of concerned friendship. I told her everything. Eleanor's comments about my background, the conversation I'd overheard, my fears that I wasn't sophisticated enough for the Hamilton family. Vivian listened with the kind of attention that made me feel heard and understood. Clara, she said when I finished, can I tell you something, as someone who's known Marcus for a long time? I nodded, desperate for reassurance. Marcus he's wonderful, but he's also very aware of what other people think, especially his family. If you really want to make this work, you might need to show him that you can fit into his world, that you can be the kind of woman he needs. Those words planted a seed of doubt that would grow and fester for the next 23 years of my life. I started trying even harder after that conversation. I took etiquette classes with money I couldn't afford. I studied political science as a minor to better understand Marcus's interests. I practiced small talk and learned about wine and art and all the cultural markers of the upper class. I transformed myself into what I thought Marcus wanted, never realizing that what he really wanted was someone else entirely. But here's what I know now, that I didn't know then. Every vulnerable moment I shared with Vivian, every insecurity I confessed, every fear I voiced about my relationship with Marcus, she was cataloguing it all, building a case against me, collecting evidence of my unworthiness, preparing for the long game she'd been playing since the day she saw Marcus talking to me outside the financial aid office. She was never my friend. She was my executioner. and I handed her the knife with my own desperate need to be accepted, to be loved, to be enough. Now, sitting in my 17-year-old body with the weight of all of that knowledge, I can see the pattern so clearly it makes me sick. Every choice I made, every compromise I accepted, every time I chose peace over confrontation, it was all part of their plan. They didn't just want to be together. They wanted to destroy me in the process. But that woman is dead now, drowned in Crescent Lake with my wedding dress wrapped around my ankles like chains. The woman who woke up in this teenage body is something else entirely. I have the memories of a 40-year-old woman, the wisdom earned through decades of pain and betrayal, but I also have the energy and opportunities of youth. Marcus Hamilton thinks he's about to meet his future wife at Riverside University. Vivian Chen thinks she's about to execute the perfect plan to win back her first love. They have no idea that their victim is already 3 steps ahead of them, armed with knowledge they can't possibly anticipate. This time, I won't be the naive girl who falls for Marcus's charming smile and promises of forever. This time, I know exactly who they both really are. This time, I have something they'll never see coming. The knowledge of their future, their weaknesses, and most importantly, their crimes. They want to play games with people's lives. They want to murder innocent women for love. Perfect. Let me show them how a real game is played. The morning of orientation at Riverside University, I stand in front of my dorm room mirror applying lipstick with steady hands. In my previous life, I would have been nervous, excited, maybe a little overwhelmed. Today, I'm calculating. I know exactly where Marcus Hamilton will be at 2:47 p.m. lost near the library, pretending to help a struggling freshman while actually scouting for his next victim. I know exactly what he'll say, how he'll smile, what lie he'll tell about wanting to help me find my way. But this time, I won't be there. Instead, I am heading to the pre-med building where Vivian Chen is currently having a breakdown in the women's restroom on the 3rd floor. In my first life, I never knew about this moment, how she'd locked herself in a bathroom stall, crying because she'd just learned that Marcus was already showing interest in someone new, someone beneath her standards, someone she'd have to destroy. I push open the bathroom door and hear the soft sniffling from the last stall. Perfect. Hello? I call out gently. Are you okay in there? The crying stops abruptly. I'm fine, comes Vivian's voice, thick with tears she's trying to hide. You don't sound fine. I'm Clara, by the way. I don't know if this helps, but whatever's wrong, it's probably not as bad as you think. There's a long pause. Then the sound of the stall door unlocking. Vivian emerges, and even with red-rimmed eyes and smudged makeup, she's stunning. Just like I remembered. I'm Vivian, she says, attempting a smile. Sorry, I'm not usually such a mess. It's just first day nerves, you know. Of course, I lie smoothly. Pre-med is incredibly competitive. The pressure must be intense. Her eyes sharpen slightly, studying my face. How did you know I was pre-med? Lucky guess. This is the pre-med building, and you look like someone who has her whole life planned out. I hand her a tissue from my purse. Let me guess. You're worried about some guy who doesn't deserve you. Vivian's laugh is bitter. Is it that obvious? Honey, I've been there. What's his name? Marcus, she says, and I have to fight to keep my expression neutral. We dated in high school, and I thought when I transferred here we could pick up where we left off, but I just found out he's already interested in someone else. Already? Classes haven't even started yet. That's what makes it worse. He's probably already planning to ask her out. Vivian's voice turned sharp with jealousy. Some scholarship girl from nowhere. I saw them talking yesterday, and the way he looked at her. I let silence hang between us for a moment, then speak carefully. Vivian, maybe this is actually an opportunity. What do you mean? Well, if he's interested in this girl, there's obviously something about her that appeals to him. Maybe instead of competing with her, you could, I don't know, become her friend, get close to her, figure out what Marcus sees in her and use that information to your advantage. Vivian stares at me like I've just handed her the key to the kingdom. That's actually brilliant. Sometimes the best way to remove an obstacle is to get it to remove itself, I say with a shrug. If this girl isn't right for Marcus, and from what you're telling me she's probably not, then eventually she'll show her true colours. You just need to be there when she does, ready to pick up the pieces. But how do I even get close to her without seeming obvious? I pretend to think about it. What's Marcus like? Does he have a saviour complex? God, yes. He's always trying to rescue people, fix things. Then he probably presented himself as her knight in shining armour, right? Helped her when she was lost or confused? I watch Vivian nod eagerly. So she's probably feeling a little overwhelmed, maybe insecure about fitting in. If you approach her as a friendly face, someone who wants to help her navigate this new world, she'll probably be grateful for the friendship. And once I'm her friend, you'll know everything. Her insecurities, her fears, her relationship problems. You'll be perfectly positioned to offer advice that serves your interests, not hers. Vivian's smile is predatory now, all traces of tears gone. Clara, you're a genius. How do you know so much about this kind of thing? Let's just say I've learned that sometimes you have to be strategic about getting what you want, I reply, especially when it comes to men like Marcus Hamilton. Her eyes narrow slightly. You know Marcus? Only by reputation. Rich family, political ambitions, the kind of guy who thinks he's God's gift to women. I laugh dismissively. Trust me, I've met the type, they're all the same. Charming on the surface, but ultimately selfish. This scholarship girl probably has no idea what she's getting into. No, Vivian agrees. She probably doesn't. We exchange phone numbers before parting ways, and I can practically see the wheels turning in her head. She thinks she's found an ally, someone who understands the game she's playing. What she doesn't realise is that I've just handed her the exact playbook she used to destroy me the first time. Except now I know every move she's going to make before she makes it. The next few weeks unfold exactly as I remember, except now I'm watching from the sidelines instead of living it. I avoid Marcus completely, taking different routes across campus, timing my schedule so our paths never cross. It's surprisingly easy. In my first life, I thought our meeting was fate, but really it was just Marcus following a predictable pattern. He always hunted near the financial aid office during the first week of classes, looking for girls who seemed lost and overwhelmed. Without me to fixate on, he moves on to his backup target. Sarah Chen, a sophomore from California who's transferring in. She's pretty in a wholesome way, blonde and bubbly, studying business with dreams of opening her own bakery. I watch from across the quad as Marcus deploys the same tactics he used on me. The helpful smile, the genteel offer to show her around campus, the immediate invitation to that evening's mixer. But I'm not done manipulating the situation. I find Sarah in the library that afternoon, looking overwhelmed as she tries to navigate the course catalogue. Excuse me, I say, sliding into the seat across from her. I couldn't help but notice you look a little lost. Are you new here? Sarah looks up gratefully. Is it that obvious? I'm Sarah. I just transferred from UCLA, and everything here is so different. I'm Clara. I'm a sophomore, so I remember what it was like being new. What's your major? Business, with a focus on entrepreneurship. I want to open my own bakery someday. Her face lights up when she talks about it, and I feel a pang of sympathy. In my original timeline, Sarah lasted exactly 6 months before Marcus broke her heart and moved on to his next victim. That's amazing, I tell her. Listen, I heard you met Marcus Hamilton earlier. Yes, he was so sweet. He's taking me to some mixer tonight. Sarah, can I give you some advice, girl to girl? She nods eagerly. Be careful with Marcus. He's got a reputation. He comes from a very wealthy family, and he has political ambitions. Sometimes, guys like that are more interested in how a girl looks on their arm than who she actually is as a person. Sarah's face falls. Really? He seemed so genuine. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, I lie smoothly. Just that you should take things slow. Get to know him before you get too invested. And if he introduces you to his ex-girlfriend Vivian Chen, she's pre-med, gorgeous, basically perfect. Just remember that exes don't usually stay friends unless there are still feelings involved. Ex-girlfriend? Sarah looks worried now. Like I said, just be careful. You seem really sweet, and I'd hate to see you get hurt. That evening, I position myself where I can watch the mixer without being seen. Marcus is in full charm mode, introducing Sarah to his friends, keeping his hand on her back in that possessive way I remember so well. But I can see the doubt in Sarah's eyes now, the way she's watching for signs of the behaviour I warned her about. Then, Vivian makes her entrance, and the game begins in earnest. She approaches Marcus and Sarah with that same perfectly calculated smile she once used on me. Marcus, she exclaims, and I watch Sarah's face carefully as she notices Marcus's reaction, the way his whole demeanour changes, the warmth that floods his expression. Vivian, I can't believe you're here. Sarah, this is Vivian Chen. We went to high school together. It's so nice to meet you, Sarah, Vivian says, but her eyes are already cataloguing Sarah's weaknesses. Marcus told me all about you. You're even prettier than he described. But Sarah isn't naive like I was. She's been warned, and she's watching for the signs. When Vivian suggests they all grab coffee later, Sarah politely declines. When Marcus starts talking about their high school memories, Sarah changes the subject. When Vivian tries to monopolise Marcus's attention, Sarah excuses herself to get some air. I follow her outside, finding her on the steps looking troubled. Having second thoughts? I ask, sitting down beside her. You were right, Sarah says quietly. The way he looked at her, it was like I disappeared, and she was so possessive, like she was marking her territory. What are you going to do? Sarah is quiet for a long moment. I think I'm going to pass on this whole situation. I came here to focus on my studies and my future business, not to get caught up in some love triangle with people who clearly have unresolved issues. Smart girl, I tell her, and I mean it. By the time Sarah goes back inside, she's made her decision. I watch through the window as she approaches Marcus, thanks him for the invitation, and politely but firmly tells him she's not interested in dating right now. The confusion on Marcus's face is priceless. He's never been rejected before, never had a woman walk away when he was offering her everything he thought she wanted. Vivian, standing nearby, looks equally stunned. Her perfect plan to infiltrate the relationship and destroy it from within has been derailed before it could even begin. But I'm not done yet. Over the next few days, I carefully orchestrate encounters with other potential targets, warning them about Marcus's patterns, planting seeds of doubt about his intentions. Some listen, some don't, but enough do that Marcus starts developing a reputation on campus. The golden boy who always got what he wanted is suddenly striking out left and right. I'm in the campus coffee shop the following week when I overhear him talking to his friend David about his recent romantic failures. I don't understand it, Marcus is saying, frustration clear in his voice. Usually, girls are falling all over themselves to go out with me, but lately it's like they're all spooked by something. Maybe you're losing your touch, David suggests with a laugh. Or maybe someone's been talking, Marcus replies darkly. That's when I see Vivian approaching their table, and I lean forward to listen. Marcus, We need to talk, she says, sliding into the booth without being invited. Vivian, not now. Yes, now. I've been asking around, trying to figure out why you've been having such bad luck lately. Her voice drops to a whisper, but I have excellent hearing. There's a girl on campus who's been warning people about you, telling them you're a player, that you have political ambitions, and you're just looking for arm candy. Marcus's face hardens. What girl? I don't know her name, but I have a description. Brunette, about 5'6". Always carries a leather messenger bag. She seems to know a lot about your family, your background. I have to bite my lip to keep from smiling. Vivian is doing exactly what I expected, trying to identify the threat so she can eliminate it, but she's looking for someone who matches my current appearance, not knowing that the real threat is the unassuming girl in the corner booth who looks nothing like the woman who's been sabotaging Marcus's love life. Find her, Marcus says, his voice cold in a way that makes my skin crawl. I want to know who's spreading lies about me. Already on it, Vivian replies, and once we find her, we can make sure she understands the consequences of interfering with things that don't concern her. The menace in her voice is unmistakable, and suddenly I'm not 17 anymore. I'm 40 years old, drowning in Crescent Lake, watching these two monsters hold hands as they watch me die. The memory hits me like a physical blow, and I have to grip the edge of the table to keep from gasping out loud. They're already showing their true natures, the casual cruelty that will eventually escalate to murder. In my first life, I never saw this side of them until it was too late. I was too busy trying to be worthy of Marcus's love to notice how easily he discarded people who disappointed him. Too busy trusting Vivian's friendship to see the calculation behind her kindness. But now I know exactly what they're capable of, and I'm just getting started. Over the next month, I watch as Marcus and Vivian grow increasingly frustrated by their inability to identify their saboteur. They've started working together, just like I knew they would, bonding over their shared goal of eliminating the threat to Marcus's reputation. It's beautiful, really, watching them fall back into their old patterns while thinking they're being clever. I start phase 2 of my plan by approaching Vivian directly. I find her studying in the library one evening, looking stressed and exhausted. Vivian, it's Clara from the bathroom that first day. How are you doing? She looks up, and I can see the toll the last month has taken on her. Dark circles under her eyes, her usually perfect hair slightly dishevelled. Oh, Clara, hi. It's been a rough few weeks. Want to talk about it? I'm a good listener. Vivian glances around to make sure we're alone, then leans forward conspiratorially. Remember that guy I told you about, Marcus? The high school boyfriend? Did you take my advice about getting close to the girl he was interested in? That's just it. There is no girl anymore. Something happened and now he can't seem to get a date with anyone. It's like someone's poisoning the well against him. I let my eyes widen in surprise. Really? That's terrible. Do you know who? We're trying to find out, but whoever it is, she's smart. She's staying hidden, working from the shadows. Vivian's voice turns bitter. Some people have no morals, interfering in other people's lives like that. Maybe, I say carefully, this is actually a good thing for you. How do you figure? Well, if Marcus is having trouble dating other people, and you're there supporting him through this difficult time, helping him figure out who's sabotaging him, doesn't that put you in the perfect position to be his hero? Vivian stares at me for a long moment, then slowly smiles. You know what? You're absolutely right. While some anonymous coward is tearing him down, I can be the one building him back up. Exactly. And when he realizes how loyal you've been, how you stood by him when everyone else was believing the rumors, he'll see that I'm the one who truly cares about him. Vivian's eyes are bright with renewed purpose. Clara, you're brilliant. How do you always know exactly the right thing to say? Just lucky, I guess, I reply with a modest smile. But as I watch Vivian pack up her books with new determination, I can't help but think about how easy it is to manipulate people when you know exactly what they want to hear. She thinks she's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, but she has no idea that her opponent is playing an entirely different game. A game where I've already seen the ending, and I'm the only one who walks away alive. The next phase of my plan is the most dangerous one yet. I need to get Marcus and Vivian to trust me, to bring me into their inner circle so I can destroy them from within. It's a delicate balance. I have to be useful enough that they want to keep me around, but not so obviously manipulative that they suspect my true motives. The opportunity comes when Marcus finally loses his temper. I'm walking across the quad when I hear raised voices near the student centre. Marcus is confronting a girl I don't recognise, his face flushed with anger. "I know it was you," he's saying, his voice carrying that edge of menace I remember so well. "You've been telling people lies about me, haven't you?" The girl, a freshman by the look of her, is backing away, clearly frightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me. Sarah Chen told me someone warned her about me, someone who knew details about my family, my background. I swear I've never even talked to Sarah Chen." A crowd is starting to gather, and I can see the exact moment Marcus realises he's made a mistake. His political instincts kick in, and he immediately tries to smooth things over. "I am sorry," he says, his voice returning to its usual charming tone. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm just frustrated because someone's been spreading rumours about me, and I was hoping you might have heard something. But the damage is done." The girl hurries away, and the crowd disperses with whispered conversations about Marcus Hamilton's outburst. By tomorrow, the whole campus will know that the golden boy has a temper. I wait until the quad is mostly empty, then approach Marcus where he's standing alone, running his hands through his hair in frustration. "Rough day?" I ask sympathetically. He looks up and I can see him trying to place me. "Do I know you?" "Not really. I'm Clara Morrison. I just transferred here this semester." I let concern creep into my voice. "Are you okay? You looked pretty upset." Marcus studies my face, probably wondering if I'm another threat. "Just dealing with some personal issues. Nothing I can't handle." "Want to talk about it? Sometimes it helps to vent to a stranger." There's something about my tone, my body language that seems to reassure him. Maybe it's because I'm not looking at him like he's either a prince or a monster, just a person having a bad day. "You really want to hear about my problems?" "I've got time," I say with a shrug. And like I said, sometimes talking to someone who doesn't know the whole story can give you a fresh perspective. So Marcus tells me everything about the mysterious saboteur, about his frustration with being unable to find the person responsible, about how his reputation is being damaged by someone who won't even face him directly. I listen with appropriate sympathy, making all the right noises at all the right moments. "That sounds incredibly frustrating," I say when he finishes, "and honestly, kind of cowardly. I mean, if someone has a problem with you, they should at least have the courage to say it to your face." "Exactly." Marcus's face lights up. "Finally, someone who gets it." "Have you considered that maybe this person knows they don't have a legitimate complaint? Maybe they're just jealous of your success, your family's status, and they're trying to tear you down because they can't build themselves up." I hadn't thought of it that way, but that makes sense. I let a thoughtful expression cross my face. "You know, I might be able to help you with this." "How?" "Well, I'm new here, so I don't have any preconceived notions about campus politics or social hierarchies. I could ask around, see if anyone's heard anything. People might be more willing to talk to someone who's not connected to your social circle." Marcus considers this for a moment. "You'd do that, but you don't even know me." "Call it civic duty," I say with a smile. I believe in fairness, and what's happening to you isn't fair. That evening, I call Vivian to report on my encounter with Marcus. She's practically vibrating with excitement when she answers the phone. Clara, I was just thinking about you. I've been taking your advice about being supportive to Marcus, and I think it's working. That's great to hear. Actually, I think I might have some more good news for you. Really? What? I met Marcus today. He was having a rough time. Apparently someone's been spreading rumours about him on campus. You met him? How? I explained the encounter, how I offered to help him identify his saboteur, how grateful he seemed for the support. This is perfect, Vivian breathes. If you can get close to him, help him through this crisis, you'll be in the perfect position to guide him toward the right conclusions. What do you mean? Well, once you identify this person who's been causing problems, you can make sure Marcus understands that not everyone who seems friendly has his best interests at heart, that some people will say anything to get what they want. Vivian's voice takes on that calculating tone I remember so well. You can help him see that the only people he can really trust are the ones who've proven their loyalty through their actions. People like you mean? Exactly. And if you play this right, Clara, I think Marcus could be very grateful to you. Grateful enough to listen when you tell him that maybe he's been looking for love in all the wrong places. As I hang up the phone, I can't help but smile. They're both so predictable, so arrogant in their certainty that they're the smartest people in the room. They think they're using me to further their agenda, never suspecting that I'm using them to further mine. But the best part? Everything they're planning to do to their imaginary enemy, the manipulation, the isolation, the systematic destruction of reputation and relationships, I've already done to them. They just don't know it yet. Phase 3 of my plan is about to begin, and it's going to be beautiful. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in Marcus's apartment, watching him pace back and forth like a caged animal. Vivian is curled up on his couch, playing the role of supportive friend, while her eyes track his every movement with predatory focus. They've both grown to trust me completely, their helpful little ally who's been working so hard to solve their mystery. Any luck today? Marcus asks, turning to me with desperate hope in his eyes. Actually, yes, I say, pulling out my phone with theatrical excitement. I think I found her. Both of them lean forward immediately. Who is it? Vivian demands. Her name is Jessica Walsh. She's a junior psychology major. Apparently, she's been telling people that you rejected her last year, and she's been getting revenge ever since. I show them a photo I've carefully doctored, Jessica's face, but with details altered just enough to make identification difficult. The beauty of it is that Jessica Walsh is real, but she's currently studying abroad in France and won't be back until next semester. That vindictive little bitch, Marcus snarls, and there it is. The real Marcus Hamilton, the one I lived with for 23 years. All pretense of charm falls away when he thinks no one important is watching. She's been very clever about it, I continue, never approaching your potential dates directly. Instead, she befriends them first, gains their trust, then plants seeds of doubt about your character. How do we stop her? Vivian asks, her voice ice cold. Well, that's the thing. She's graduating early and leaving for graduate school in 2 weeks. So technically, the problem solves itself. Marcus slams his fist against the wall, making me jump. 2 weeks? She's ruined my entire semester and I'm supposed to just let her walk away. What do you want to do? I ask quietly. Confront her. That could backfire spectacularly, especially if she's as manipulative as you say. No, Vivian says slowly, her eyes bright with malice. Confrontation is too risky, but there are other ways to make sure someone understands the consequences of their actions. The look that passes between Marcus and Vivian in that moment sends chills down my spine. It's the same look I saw in their eyes that night at Crescent Lake. The cold calculation of people who've decided that someone else's life is expendable. "What are you thinking?" Marcus asks. "Jessica's a psychology major, right? That means she's probably doing research, maybe working on a thesis." Vivian's smile is sharp as a blade. "Academic sabotage is so much more elegant than anything physical. Destroyed research, plagiarism, accusations, a few words to the right professors about her mental stability. You could ruin her entire future," I say, letting awe creep into my voice. "She'd never recover from something like that." "Exactly," Marcus says, his anger transforming into something much more dangerous. "She wants to play games with people's lives. Let's show her what happens when you target the wrong person." Over the next hour, I watched them plan Jessica Walsh's destruction with the same methodical precision they once used to plan mine. They divide up tasks. Vivian will use her connections in the psychology department to plant rumours about Jessica's mental health, while Marcus will leverage his family's influence to ensure she never gets into graduate school. "Clara," Vivian says, turning to me with that sweet smile that once fooled me completely, "we are going to need you to document everything. Every interaction Jessica has, every class she attends, every weakness we can exploit." "You want me to stalk her?" "Not stalk," Marcus corrects smoothly. "Observe. We need to know her patterns, her vulnerabilities. Think of it as reconnaissance." I pretend to consider this, letting reluctance show on my face. "I don't know. This feels like it's escalating beyond what I'm comfortable with." The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Marcus and Vivian exchange a look that speaks volumes. "Clara," Vivian says, her voice taking on that dangerous edge I remember so well, "you've been so helpful to us. It would be a shame if all that good work went to waste because you got cold feet at the crucial moment. The threat is unmistakable. I'm in too deep now. I know their plans, their methods, their willingness to destroy lives for petty revenge. They can't let me walk away with that knowledge." "You're right," I say, forcing my voice to shake slightly. "I'm sorry. I guess I just never thought about what justice actually looks like. Of course, I'll help you." Marcus's smile returns, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "That's what I wanted to hear. We're a team now, Clara, and teams stick together no matter what." The next few days are a masterclass in psychological warfare. I watch Marcus and Vivian systematically destroy Jessica Walsh's reputation, spreading rumours about her mental health, sabotaging her research, poisoning the well against her in every department. They're efficient, thorough, and completely without remorse. But here's what they don't know. Jessica Walsh is safely in Paris, completely unaware that her doppelganger is being systematically destroyed back home. The woman they're targeting doesn't exist. She's a fiction I created, a composite of features from multiple people, designed to be just real enough to satisfy their need for revenge. On the day of their planned culmination, when they intend to plant drugs in Jessica's dorm room and call campus security, I make my move. "I need to tell you both something," I say when we meet at Marcus' apartment for final preparations. "What is it?" Vivian asks, checking her watch impatiently. "Jessica Walsh is currently in Paris. She's been there for 3 months, studying abroad. The woman you've been targeting doesn't exist." The silence that follows is deafening. Marcus and Vivian stare at me like I've grown a second head. "That's impossible," Marcus says finally. "You showed us her photo." "Doctored. You've been destroying the reputation of a complete innocent based on a lie I created." "Why?" Vivian's voice is barely a whisper, but I can hear the rage building underneath. "Because I wanted to see what you were capable of," I reply calmly. "I wanted to know if you were really the kind of people who would destroy someone's entire life over a petty grudge. You set us up, Marcus says, his face flushing with anger. No, Marcus, I gave you a choice. You could have confronted your supposed enemy directly. You could have taken the high road. Instead, you chose to systematically destroy what you thought was an innocent woman's future. And you felt good about it. Vivian stands up slowly, her eyes never leaving my face. Who are you, really, Clara? I'm someone who knows exactly what you're both capable of. I'm someone who's seen how this story ends when people like you decide that someone else's life is expendable. You're insane, Marcus spits. You manipulated us into showing your true natures, into revealing that beneath all that charm and sophistication, you're both sociopaths who get off on destroying people. I stand up as well, feeling 23 years of rage finally bubbling to the surface. I didn't make you do anything, Marcus. I just gave you the opportunity to show who you really are. The mask has completely fallen away now. Marcus lunges toward me, but I'm ready for him. I've been preparing for this moment since the day I woke up in my 17-year-old body. You want to know who I really am? I ask, pulling out my phone and showing them the recording app that's been running for the past hour. I'm Clara Hamilton. I'm the woman you murdered in 23 years. I'm your wife, Marcus, and I know everything. Marcus freezes mid-stride, his face going white. That's impossible. Is it? You remember Crescent Lake, don't you? The pills you slipped into my wine, the way you and Vivian held hands as you watched me drown? I smile, and I know it's not a pleasant expression. I remember everything, every lie, every betrayal, every moment of the 23 years you stole from me. Vivian starts laughing. High, hysterical laughter that fills the apartment. She's completely lost it, Marcus. She's having some kind of psychotic break. Am I? I turn to her, my voice calm and steady. Tell me, Vivian, how does it feel knowing that this is where your story ends? Not with you winning Marcus's love, not with you destroying me, but with you both exposed as the monsters you really are. You're delusional, Marcus says, but there's uncertainty in his voice now. Even if what you're saying were true, how could you possibly prove it? I don't need to prove it to you. I just needed to prove it to myself. I hold up my phone again. Every word you've said tonight has been recorded. Every plan you've made, every cruel impulse you've indulged, every moment when you chose destruction over compassion. I have it all. The recording I've captured tonight is devastating. Hours of Marcus and Vivian planning to destroy an innocent woman's life, discussing methods of psychological torture, revealing their complete lack of empathy or remorse. Even without the context of their future crimes, it's enough to ruin them both. What do you want? Vivian asks, her voice small and afraid. Justice, I reply simply. You taught me that sometimes the only way to find peace is to make sure your enemies rest in the same grave they dug for you. So, thank you, Vivian. Thank you for showing me exactly how to win this game. I walk toward the door, but Marcus grabs my arm. You can't just leave. We need to talk about this. No, Marcus, we don't. I pull away from him easily. 40 years of experience have taught me how to read his movements, how to anticipate his violence. We're done talking. Now comes the part where you live with the consequences of your choices. As I reach the door, I turn back one last time. Oh, and Marcus, give my regards to your mother. I'm sure she'll be very interested to hear the recording of her son planning to destroy innocent people for sport. The last thing I see before closing the door is their faces, pale, terrified, finally understanding that they've been outplayed by someone who knew their game better than they did. The next morning, copies of the recording find their way to campus security, the psychology department, the Hamilton family attorney, and several influential members of the university board. By noon, Marcus and Vivian are both facing expulsion hearings and potential criminal charges for conspiracy to commit academic fraud. But that's just the beginning. The recording also goes viral on social media, where the voices of Marcus Hamilton and Vivian Chen, planning to destroy an innocent woman's life for their own amusement, become the soundtrack to their public humiliation. The story spreads beyond campus, picked up by news outlets fascinated by the fall of a privileged golden boy and his accomplice. Eleanor Hamilton disowns her son publicly, more concerned with protecting the family name than salvaging Marcus's reputation. Vivian's medical school applications are quietly withdrawn. Their futures, the political career, the prestigious medical practice, the life of wealth and influence they thought they deserved, crumble to dust in a matter of days. And through it all, I watch from the shadows, 17 years old again, but with the satisfaction of a woman who's finally found justice. They tried to erase me from existence, to steal my life and pretend I never mattered. Instead, they've erased themselves. Some people get second chances at life. I got a second chance at revenge. And as I watch Marcus Hamilton and Vivian Chen destroy each other in their desperate attempts to salvage what's left of their ruined lives, I can't help but smile. After all, they taught me that the only way to win against people like them is to become something they never see coming. They expected a victim. Instead, they got a predator who'd been studying them for 23 years. The water may have claimed me once, but this time I made sure their ashes sank in the same lake they thought would be my grave.